Welcome in. We hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday. We are back to the real world, back to life, back to all the fun stuff. Week 13 is basically done. We have our Monday Night Football game, but outside of that, we're clear. So is myself, Jesse Muller, aka hashtag RIP King CMC. You will be missed, my friend. We will see you. Who knows how long that injury is going to And I'm here with Jeremy Schulman. Hashtag I'll hail King Bucky. The new king, the new chosen one has emerged. We have him. We will be talking about Bucky and how amazing Bucky is. So I feel like an idiot. I should have trusted my gut on that one. But, we're neither here nor there. What it is. Thank you for joining us, Jeffrey. It's nice to see you. So thank you. Yeah, we're going to be doing the Believe It or Not show. So we're going to be recapping all of the games that happened from going back to Thursday through last night. So what do you say, Jeremy? You want to talk about anything specific or you want to hop into these games?
Yeah, let's jump into the games. I had a bunch of this going on this weekend. So we got Christmas in full effect. December comes in. If it was up to my wife, we'd have December in July. So
I like it.
That's not my bag, but over the years, it's grown on me. So it's Christmas time before my birthday. That was my issue as a child. The childhood trauma. Got a birthday next week, and all the Christmas before my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But
like taking all my shine, Christmas. Yeah.
you get older, you learn to live with life, and it's all good. Love Thanksgiving, but after Thanksgiving, hey, it's Christmas time. Here we are.
Yeah. Thanksgiving's the redhead stepchild of holidays because it's like we get Halloween straight to Thanksgiving, and everyone's like already thinking about Christmas. Like you go to Costco or any one of those big stores, they have stuff up before Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I'm like, well, we had a nice few days. We're going straight to Christmas. Yeah. The big dog's in town. It is what it is. Unfortunately, yeah, there was a Pentatonics movie we were watching last night. It's like a movie based on Pentatonics from the holidays, and I was like, yeah, they know me too well. They know me. They know I'm a
nice.
Oh, goodness. All right, so let's jump into these games, shall we? We are going all the way back to Thursday. We're going to start out with the early game. The Lions somehow holding on and winning 23-20 in this game. I don't know how they did it. I have no idea. Basically, the Bears just continue to find ways to lose. I know we talked about this, them just leaving Eberflus in Detroit, and they pretty much did that. So they're like, all right, see ya. It's nice knowing you. But the one thing that we can take away is we've seen the offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown. They've been able to be really good with Caleb outside of that just disastrous last drive. And Keenan Allen's really taken a step forward, and I think that's something we can highlight there. Do you think they could continue to keep this going? Because they are on quite the hot streak. Keenan is basically leading them targets the past 3 games. He's been a monster. If you have him in PPR leagues, it's an auto set and forget it. Where are you kind of out with these two moving forward?
God, I don't know how you can sit Keenan at this point. He appears to be the first. I don't know if we have data on this, Jesse. Maybe you can check this, but this might be too specific. But in the red zone, he appears to be a ridiculous amount of first read targets for Keenan Allen. He's had 2 touchdowns this past week. He had, I think, another 2 last week. He at least had 1 last week. So he just continues to get in the end zone. But Caleb Williams is absolutely balling against Minnesota. Shouldn't have happened. Divisional matchup. 47 attempts, 32 completions, 340 and 2. So that was 2 weeks ago on Thanksgiving against Detroit. Certainly one of the best 2 teams in the league. Again, 39 pass attempts, only 20 completions, but 3 more touchdowns. Caleb is absolutely balling, and he's getting there with his legs as well, averaging 35 yards a game on the ground. So QB4 and QB4 in standard quarterback scoring leagues over the last 2 weeks, he's balling.
Yeah. I mean, he looks great, right? Like you see everything. This is the guy that was drafted first overall, the highly touted prospect. We're seeing all the things we want to see finally from him. I mean, there are some boneheaded plays. He's a rookie. He lost track of the time in this game. They ran the clock down, should have taken a timeout, but this is more on the head coach. The head coach should have the rookie quarterbacks back. He did not. He just let him go with it. And then, of course, after the game, he's like, I don't know. It seems like we handled it pretty well. And I'm just like, bro, what are you talking about? Everyone saw this on national television.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So I didn't find the specific data about red zone, but I did find first read targets since Thomas Brown took over. Keenan Allen's at 33%. It's Keenan Allen, and then it's Romeo Dunze, DJ Moore. They're well down there. So Romeo Dunze is actually second, 26%. DJ Moore is third, 21%. So we probably we have a good sample set of data where we need to knock DJ Moore, probably to raise Keenan Allen to the top Bears wide receiver, and then however you want to go with Dunze and DJ Moore. Moore's been a little bit more consistent than Dunze, but overall those two are clear second banana to Keenan Allen on offense. That's how it's going to be moving forward. So
we have we have a ton of games to get through here, so I don't want to spend too much time, but we have to talk about the fact that Matt Eberflus is gone, fired. Thomas Brown is interim head coach, so I don't know if he continues calling the plays, if there's someone under him who calls the plays. I'm not sure if that's been communicated to us or how that's going to happen. It's a big mess in Chicago, but I think one thing's for certain: Caleb Williams is just going to keep doing Caleb Williams things, and you're going to like it for fantasy.
Yeah, if you have Keenan, if you have Caleb Williams, you just fire him up. Like, you just don't worry about it at this point in time. We've seen enough. Like, I get it. It was really bad early season. What we've seen so far this past month with Thomas Brown, like, the offense is good. And in the second half, they were a force against Detroit. Like, it was their game to lose. They were clearly dominating both sides of the ball. Let's transition to the Detroit Lions and kind of the issues that are Jared Goff being a immobile quarterback, kind of these Kirk Cousins, these guys. If they don't get the passing touchdowns, and this happens with Goff, it's really hard for him to be a top 12 quarterback consistently.
Yeah, it is.
If he is your QB1 and you're going in the playoffs, say you're like a top 3 seed, how are you feeling about that? And are you trying to improve that situation? Obviously, it's easier in one QB, but if in the Superflex leagues, how would you go about kind of improving that situation if you could?
Yeah, I might need to find a way to stream on the wire. I mean, we know that Jared Goff is capable of putting up great games. He's done it multiple times this year. The problem is this running game is too good. They are blowing teams out, or at least controlling the game through the run game. David Montgomery is far too good at moving the chains. Jahmyr Gibbs is super explosive. And if Jared Goff isn't getting there with these backs through the air, it can become an issue. I mean, here's the issue for me with Jared Goff. Last week, he was 21 of 34, not great completion percentage against Chicago. Chicago's a good pass defense, 2 touchdowns. But like you said, because he's immobile, those 2 touchdowns only got him QB 17 on the week because he only threw for 221 yards. So unless he's throwing for about 300 yards, he's probably not going to get you to QB1 status with multiple touchdowns. And he doesn't need to, right? Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, San Francisco. This defense is good enough to corral most of those offenses outside of Buffalo. It's going to be, I can't trust him.
Yeah, it kind of is what it is with him. If he's your QB1, you better have a really good team around him to kind of offset the more limited ceiling. Like, it's high floor play. That's what Jared Goff is each and every week. You know what you're getting. He's still QB11 on the year, but he's that fringe quarterback where you're not super bullish about him. He's great as a QB2 in Superflex leagues. I think that's like an ideal spot for him.
Agree.
Instead of free. But if he's your high-end QB1, I would take an upside shot. I would maybe trade to kind of go for the ceiling and swing for that, because that's what it's all about in redraft leagues in particular. Let's go to our second game of the day. Dallas and the Giants, and this game was just all over the place for both of these teams for 2 specific reasons. But with the Giants, we saw Tyrone Tracy 2 weeks ago really take a step backwards. He fumbled, and they really were like, all right, we're going to give Singletary a lot of run. This game in particular, Dayball was like, nah, Singletary's my guy. And he literally just read the backfield. He did it all. Interestingly enough, both these backfields, the offenses are not good. They're not in playoff contention. I mean, Dallas theoretically could get there, but let's be real, they're not playoff contender. They have these 2 bell cow running backs. With the Giants, are you confident riding with Tyrone Tracy into the fantasy playoffs if you have him? Like, where would you kind of slot him? Is he RB2 for you? Maybe a flex play? Where are you kind of at with him?
I think it's probably a decent back end RB2. I think he's kind of got that safe floor. 4 targets and 3 targets over the last 2 weeks after the bye and after Daniel Jones was jettisoned. He did score a touchdown on the ground, but just 9 for 32 this week, 9 for 42 last week. And like you said, Devin Singletary continues to get involved. Thankfully, Tyrone Tracy got the touchdown. That's really what you're going to need from him. So I think he's a back end RB2. He was RB17 this week. But again, because he scored. So you just hope that his athleticism gets him there most weeks. Also, they were playing a terrible Dallas defense. New Orleans, that D has proven to be better over the last few weeks after getting rid of Marshawn Lattimore somehow. So they get New Orleans next week, then Baltimore, Atlanta, and Indy to finish it out. But the next 2 weeks could be really rough for Tracy.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at the stat line, it's like, oh, they were split work. But if you look at the data behind it, 73% of snaps, and he also ran 27 routes compared to 5 for Singletary, 2 for Gray. Clearly, they like Tyrone Tracy. They've liked him the entire time. Daboll said good things about him. It's just the fumbles. Like, that's the thing that's holding back with the offense, where it's like, and you see the kind of reaction to that. So we'll see. It's tougher games coming up, but like, if you have him, I'm probably gonna more treat him as a flex with high upside just because the matchups are bad. But Like we'll get to Dowdle, the guy who's just seen insane volume. He's been like 84%
Crazy.
snaps the last 2 weeks. He's just been rolling with that offense with Cooper Rush and all the things around it. But for Dowdle, I guess moving forward, we kind of transition to Dallas. Do you think that's going to stay right for him the rest of the season? He's just going to be the high-end volume king through basically the end of the year, or do you think anything changed for him moving forward?
No, I think he's good. His schedule's so juicy too, other than Philly and championship week, which you're not going to want to play him. He's got Cincy, Carolina, Tampa Bay. I mean, it couldn't be a better run up over the next 3 weeks. And you see what he's been able to do, dominate on touches. 2 weeks ago, 19 carries for 86 yards. Last week, 22 for 112, and he got the score. He's also getting 3 to 4 targets in the passing game most weeks. If he can convert those, great. But yeah, he was RB5 this week. He looked great, put up a ton of points. If he scores for you, he can be an RB1 on that volume. But this is like a James Conner situation, right? If he scores, he's going to be an RB1. It's just based on that volume. Of course, we're dealing with a much lesser offense here, unfortunately. But the schedule is pretty, like we said.
I think with Cincinnati, they have to contain that offense, the defense does, because if they get behind in this, because they were ahead throughout this game in New York, that's why I kind of just like featuring him. There could be a game like we saw against Houston where he only gets like 10 carries in the game because they're consistently trailing. So they really need that defense to bring it, or the offense just has to be functioning at a super high rate. And I mean, I don't expect that with Cooper Rush, but it's entirely possible. So we'll see how the game script goes. It's one of those where he's like, I like him as a solid RB2. There's just a little bit, the floor is a little bit lower just because it can shift for him.
Yep.
Let's go to our kind of our third game for the Thanksgiving festival, where it was like Green Bay really just holding on against this game against Miami. They win 30-17. It kind of shows the issues for Miami and the offense in general, where we expected this from Tyreek. The one guy that's clearly the dude is Jonnu Smith. Everything else, and Davante Chandler, those are the two guys.
Yeah.
But the passing game, like Jonnu Smith, he was supposed to get a touchdown. It baffles it up into the air. Tyreek Hill comes down with it for a touchdown. Now, the one thing about Tyreek is he did step forward the second half and did see a good amount of targets. Yeah. Do you think he could consistently be like maybe a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside moving forward, or are you just a little bit more worried because he did get that basically lucky touchdown?
Yeah, I sat him in a lot of places, not every place, but in a lot of places where I could this week because I was treating him as a wide receiver 2. Yeah, it was just kind of the fluke touchdown. 9 targets, which is nice. He's had 8 or 9 targets in 3 of his last 6. But he's also had games with 4 and 5 targets in that span as well. 2 targets back in week 7 against Indy. The usage doesn't make sense. They want to get the ball to Davante Chan. That is clear overall. And then I think Jonnu is just the guy who's wide open. I'm not sure what his first read situation is, but there are a fair amount of first reads for Jonnu. It's kind of surprising, but I think it's more what we were talking about with this, the too high that all of these teams are running. Basically, that is to take away Tyreek Hill and like Christian Watson and things like that. Apparently, people do not know that Alec Pierce does that, but there's most other deep threats have not been threatening defenses because of the way that they're playing them. So. Yeah, it's weird. It's unfortunate, but no, Tyreek, I can't trust him. I don't know. Jets, decent matchup, except they showed up last week. Houston, San Francisco, Cleveland. Tyreek Hill should be able to do Tyreek Hill things. He just hasn't really done it this season.
It hasn't clicked for him. And like, if you're talking about first read looks, like if you just go to Fancy Points data, by the way, if anybody wants to use that data, they should. It's exceptional stuff. 35% of first read looks for Jonnu Smith. He is the guy in that offense. I don't know what it is. And by the way, Tua was the most accurate quarterback in the NFL last year, like on target accuracy. He was that guy last week. Now the offense did not fully click, and there's other issues with that offense in general. Like you saw, like the Green Bay Packers offense was just much better. But I think with Tyreek, he's kind of a boom bust wide receiver 2 for you. If you have him, you're going to play him just because he's still getting targets in that offense and it's going well. But he's just, like we talked about, he's just not the guy he was last year in this offense. Last year, he was the league breaker. If you had Tyreek, he was literally like winning you leagues. This year, he's just more of one of those veteran producers, kind of the Keenan Allen of the world, which this sucks when you're talking about Tyreek Hill and you're like, I have Keenan Allen now. Like that's not what you want to hear, right? Because you drafted him, 106 at the latest? Like, and in dynasty leagues, he was fetching quite the price. So these veteran producers, like when it goes, and this we'll talk about CMC later on, when it happens, barring injuries, it's just like the production's not there. You kind of lost the bag, so it is what it is. But overall, I think he's solid. It's just You better have a lot of good guys around him to kind of offset that loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the Packers, man, Josh Jacobs is a dog. Like he's just rolling through. I think he's like RB5 last month. He's been incredible.
Crazy.
But the interesting thing is, without Romeo Doubs, Jayden Reed did his thing that we had been hoping in for so long, where it's like, this is the Jayden Reed we've been looking for. He led the wide receivers in targets. He had 2 touchdowns. He had a broken play. He had a big carry. How much do you think Romeo Doubs being on the field impacts Jayden Reed in this offense, where it kind of caps his ceiling, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. Jayden Reed has a bunch of games where he's gone off, but Romeo Doubs isn't always around. Romeo Doubs wasn't there this time, and Reed only got 6 targets. So I'm a little concerned about that, right? We know that Jayden Reed lives off of extreme efficiency. 3 receptions, 24 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this game. But it's interesting to think of the who Jordan Love is looking to in the red zone. If Josh Jacobs isn't putting it in, then is it Doubs as a first over Reed? I think so. It's probably Musgrave, and I know it's Musgrave over both of those guys. But yeah, it's just Jayden Reed gets the opportunity when Romeo Doubs is not there, and he can live off the efficiency that he naturally brings. When Romeo Doubs is there, it lowers his ceiling, in my opinion, and it's really hard for him to get there against average defenses.
Yeah, and I know you said Musgrave, but I think you meant Kraft. But with Kraft, the target shares when either like Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson have missed or left early, it's like 13% since 19, 25%. He saw 25% in this game. So in those games, he scored 19 fantasy points per game across that sample. So like Tucker Kraft has seen a massive uptick in his role because like he's kind of that boom bust, like high end tight end too. When all these guys are healthy, when one of them goes down, this is similar to other tight ends, like they step forward. So Jayden Reed, I think his role grows too, but Tucker Kraft's the other guy. Like both of those guys take a step forward. And if you have them, like you fire them up. I know we're worried about Jayden Reed because he's not the high end target earner that we hoped he would be.
Right.
But he's more in that boom bust, like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2, potential wide if he gets touchdowns, like and moves forward. So I think he's good. But to your point, there's just a little bit more because what we saw earlier this season, we're like, oh snap, Jayden Reed's taking a massive step forward. We didn't get that, but he's solid. He's solid. Let's talk about the Black Friday game and the Chiefs and the Raiders. And my goodness, I don't know what these Chiefs are doing, like who they sold their soul to, but they keep finding ways to win this game, man. It's wild. But we had this with Jacoby Myers. The first couple of drives with Jacoby Myers show. Outside of that, it was the Brock Bowers show, and my goodness, he looked everything you could ask for. When we were hoping that Kyle Pitts was that guy, we finally got it years later. His name is Brock Bowers. He's incredible. 10 receptions, 14 targets, 140 yards and touchdown. In tight end premium leagues, this dude was put up like 50 points for you. You just want to wax politically about him because I don't think much needs to be said about how good Brock Bowers has been as a rookie.
No, you don't need to say anything. 14 targets, 10 receptions, 140 yards, just the 1 touchdown for Brock Bowers this week. He's a monster. He was the tight end 1. He was our tight end 1 on the week. He is just everything that he was billed as, and he will continue to be Tampa, Atlanta, Jacksonville, New Orleans to finish the season. Brock Bowers is going to crush. Jacoby Myers, we like him too. Did he get there this game? I think he did.
Good game.
Yep. And so that's what we were worried about last week. Can these guys coexist? Well, Kansas City, we know you have to bring it against them. But with the way that the schedule is lining up, I think you can fire both of these guys up in the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, because he had 6 receptions for 97 yards. It started out really hot, and then it kind of tapered off. He still had 11 targets in this game, so he's very much involved. I think the one thing that's interesting, we saw Sincere McCormack take the lead in this backfield, and Antonio Pierce had some high praise about him. So if there's anybody's like, he's available in every potential league. So if anybody wants to pick up Sincere McCormack, I would highly do that. You don't know how it's going to go with these backfields, but like Abdullah has never been that bell cow, so he could definitely have a decent role in this backfield moving forward. Even though we'll see how it shakes out. So I don't know with this backfield, man. But if you can pick him up, he's super cheap. For Kansas City, Travis Kelce had a solid game. He was massive rolling targets. It didn't fully live up to the Brock Bowers, but 13 targets, like that's all you really need to see. You're like, okay, it's good for him moving forward. Between this backfield, we saw Pacheco kind of carve out a decent role in this offense moving forward. I think that now he's played an officially game, it's probably Pacheco is back to being not entirely like the high-end bell cow, but he's going to have the majority of the work. I think Hunt kind of reverts that goal line guy. Where are you kind of at between these guys? Are you just fully on the Pacheco train? Are you more in on Hunt? Where are you kind of standing between the two of them?
I think you have to be on the Pacheco train, but the concern is, yes, it's his first game back, but only 37% of snaps. What the Chiefs should do is they should continue to slowly work him in and integrate him after that horrific injury that he sustained, and that he needs to, he needed practically the entire season to get back on the field. Great. But I don't trust the Chiefs to do this, right? They're 11-1. They've already clinched a playoff spot. We know they want that number 1 seed, home field advantage. Of course, the Chargers, Cleveland, Houston, Pittsburgh, Denver. I don't think it's going to be terribly difficult for them to win out or, win all but maybe one, go 12-2. I think they can go 13-3 and still get home field advantage. So what they need to do is make sure everybody's healthy, take their foot off their gas a little bit. But the problem is if this team takes their foot off the gas, they might lose a game or 7. So I don't really know what the hell they're doing. They should use both of these guys as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to shake out. I think we'll see Pacheco probably creep over 50% in this game. It's a tough matchup against the Chargers. And we saw the difference of the routes, and he doubled him in routes, but you saw the usage of Pacheco's just more explosive. He had 44 yards on basically 7. Hunt had 15 yards on 7 carries. You kind of know what you're getting with Kareem Hunt. I think he has one explosive run on the entire year. That's just not what he is. He's that bell cow, or not. He's that goal line grinder, kind of does what he does. Yeah, we had a post on FF Universe He's talking about where basically what is going to take to get Bowers from the McBride owner, how much do you have to pay on top of it? And my thought process is you got to pay me, my friends. I get it. McBride's really, really good. I think he's my clear tight end too, but Bowers is doing exceptional stuff. So it's just really, what are you comfortable selling? Because I would want something like a solid piece for my lineup, or you'd have to make it, you're basically have to pay me is what I'm talking about to get Bowers from me. It's just the way I do it. Where are you kind of out with these two guys?
Yeah, you can't get Bowers. Doesn't matter. He's doing this with no kind of offensive scheme. He's doing this with lame duck head coach, lame duck quarterbacks, and the nice thing is they really can't afford to add any weapons here, right? They're kind of stuck with the wide receiver room the way it is. Thankfully, they have Jacoby and Brock Bowers, and they're going to need to add some running backs. That doesn't really affect Brock Bowers. They're going to need to add pieces everywhere, but I assume one of those pieces is going to be a quarterback as well. So I'm not so concerned. I think Brock Bowers is the one who benefits from a rookie quarterback, because rookie quarterbacks can typically only support one guy. I think that guy is going to be Brock. So yeah, I don't care. It's Brock Bowers. Trey McBride can't catch a touchdown because Kyler Murray sucks, but he's good enough to get you fantasy points. But Kyler Murray is not an average NFL quarterback, and that kind of sucks because he's athletically gifted, incredible athlete, can sling the ball for sure. But Trey McBride has 0 receiving touchdowns on the season, and that's because of Kyler Murray. Yeah,
it's more speaks to his role too. You want this guy featured heavily in the end zone. It's clearly not working out for him. He's doing everything else. It's he's 90% there. He just needs the end zone role. I'm assuming next year they will shift that forward where they're hey, let's get this big dude who's an explosive athlete. Let's maybe get him some touches down the goal line. See how it goes. Because they're struggling to score touchdowns on top of it too. That's an issue for this offense. So I think they can fix it, and we can look at this point next year where they're basically similar production and similar role set. I think that's entirely likely. We'll see. There's just a little bit of risk with him, but yeah, like we said, you just got to pay up to get Bowers. It is what it is, man. He's doing stuff in a terrible situation. If it gets better, they get a quarterback upgrade. The offense raises. You know what I'm saying? I would not be too worried about it. We'll see what they do with Vegas and that offense. If they bring in another wide receiver next year, however that goes, it's TBD. There's a long way to go because they could be changes to the offensive scheme. They could be changes to the whole situation. So yeah, just a lot could be in flux for them. Let's talk about the Falcons and the Chargers and just what was kind of an ugly game. Kirk Cousins, man. Kirk Cousins. There was one throw he made, an out throw that was just so slow and behind. That was pick 6, where he made the read late and he threw it and it felt like it was going in slow motion. And I was like, Kirky, baby, come on, man. I've loved you, but goodness gracious. Yeah, there was quite a few social media posts about saying it's Michael Penix season. It's time for Michael Penix. If you are the Falcons, are you throwing Michael Penix out there if he is ready to go?
No. There's still an opportunity that this team can make the playoffs. They're 6-6. Mm-hmm. It's not the end of the world, but that looked like absolute garbage, right? And we know the Falcons defense isn't great, but it was an opportunity for them to kind of show off and try and elevate this team. And they played decently last week, even though they didn't have to deal with J.K. Dobbins. So I like this Falcons team. I think there's an opportunity, and we've been saying this all season. long. And even in the offseason, they have one of the best schedules for fantasy that we love to see, but also that equates to a really nice reality schedule for them. It's looking like Minnesota. So Minnesota certainly is a beatable team. If this defense plays that way, they can get at Darnold. Then Vegas, the Giants, and Washington, Carolina to end it. So this team can not only do stuff for you in the fantasy playoffs, it could make the real playoffs. And but in order to do that, Kirk has to play better. I don't know. That protection's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, we saw like London was heavily targeted in this game. Bijan lived up to his billing. The Kyle Pitts didn't get target. So yeah, we're back to the Kyle Pitts. What the hell is going on here? Offense, right? He's basically the fourth option to that passing attack. In this game, he wasn't even that. But like you had London do his thing. Bijan was incredible. I would have just given Bijan more targets and more touches. He had 32, but I'd be like, just give him 40, man. Fuck it. Like we need him on offense. So yeah, I think if he's ready, you could fire up Penix. But if you do this, it's going to be extremely hard to go back to Cousins because you're basically crushing Cousins at this point too, right? So this is kind of where you need good coaching staff to know what the plan is. If you have a plan attack, if the plan was to already potentially go to Penix, then sure. But if they're reacting to this, you kind of know what you have in Cousins. He's like a solid NFL quarterback this way. It's just same thing with the Rodgers. Like they're not fully healed from those Achilles injuries, and they don't have the zip on the ball, and that makes sense. I will say Rodgers' fastball looks a hell of a lot better than Cousins' fastball right now, like between the two of them. So it's just kind of like, yeah, I get it. If you have Penix rostered, like that time is coming sooner rather than later, I will say, particularly if they kind of fall out of the playoff contention. Like there's that aspect.
Agree.
So there's that one. So yeah, Lad's dope. He's one of the best rookie wide receivers like we've seen in a while. He's got 2.39 yards per route run. It's like top 10 career for rookie wide receivers. He's doing exceptional stuff. I haven't heard anything about the injury because he did suffer an injury in this game. Looked into the coach, but they didn't say anything about it. Yeah, so we'll see.
Knee. It's a knee.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm waiting to hear a little bit more information. We'll hear more as the week goes on. It's still only Monday. Like we have time to find out more information on this. Who do you think steps over this offense? Because outside of him, I saw a post from Hayden Winks. It was like +4 EPA from every time the ball went to Lad. Everyone else was like -12 EPA. Like Lad's the one good receiver they have on this team. Everyone else is just like. So who do you think they just divvied up to a bunch of different people? Do you think they go more on the ground game? By the way, J.K. Dobbins has 3 more games on the IR list. He's out. When you look at like the touches for the running backs, like it was not great. It was Gus Edwards split. Kamani Vidal had some touches. Hassan Atkins had 1 carried fumble, so he was ripped out of there. I mean, I think the upside shot on the ground is Vidal, but it's just gross across the board. Like Edwards didn't give you much of anything. Where are you kind of going with this team, and what do you think happens if Lad is out?
I think it's probably Disley and Palmer who were able to step up. But I think the real issue is that the running game kind of faltered without J.K. Dobbins. And that's really why this game was even close. J.K. Dobbins, or I'll say a above average functional NFL run game is able to open up a lot of things in the passing game for guys who are not good NFL wide receivers. This was the issue with the Chargers last year. They did not have good NFL wide receivers, Keenan Allen and nobody else. So now they have that McConkey and nobody else. Can Palmer step up? Sure. But QJ needs to catch the damn ball. He'll have probably another big game or two, but he's not a reliable guy. DJ Chark, maybe they'll activate him. I think Lad probably misses this week if they're smart because this team's 8-4. They're going to the playoffs. I think they should rest Lad. I know it's Kansas City. I know he's going to want to play, but I think they need to rest him, sit him down maybe for a week or two. Tampa the following week. So 2 big games, then Denver, New England, Las Vegas. Those last 2 they should win. But yeah, KC, Tampa, Denver is kind of a tough gauntlet for this team that has playoff aspirations. So I think if they sit him this week against KC, he comes back soon. But maybe they don't. And maybe you just continue to benefit. He's awesome.
Yeah, and to your point with Disley, he basically was Kyle Pitts in this game. He had 1 target, did nothing. They had Stone Smart, other guys running routes, so I'm not sure if they're kind of moving away from Disley or what, if it was just a matchup base. We'll see. But yeah, they clearly need playmakers offensively. Like, particularly losing Dobbins highlights that even more, where Dobbins was by far their best running back. I mean, I've been hyping for Vidal. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe he can earn more work in this offense because Edwards is just not very good. He's ancient at this point, and Haskins is just maybe a NFL running back, maybe at that point. Like, it's just they need someone else to step forward. They clearly are needing that. They're 8-4 right now. they're going to make the playoffs. We'll see with this gauntlet of games if they don't have McConkey. Like, it just could be a bad game from Herbert because it should have been a really good Herbert game, but they only had 23 pass steps. Lada had over half of the targets in this game, so it shows you kind of where they're at. Yeah, it's supposedly it's a shoulder. We just don't know enough about it. It's just not one. So yeah, we're kind of speculating. So it is what it is. He's dealt with a ton of injuries this year. Like, Lad's been injured basically the entire season. Like, there's been nonstop injuries. A lot of small nicks and things with him. This one seems a little bit more major. Just pay attention to it. We'll see. If he's out, we're going to recommend some Chargers wide receiver on the waiver wire. It's not good this time of year for waiver wire. So if you're looking for people, it's rough, right?
It's true.
We've seen Pollard do it in the past before where he stepped forward, nobody else. I don't know, man, because like it's gross. It's just gross. Let's go to our next game and talk about it. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Oh my goodness, Russell Wilson in this offense. So we talked about targeting Cincinnati in this offense. Goodness gracious. 400 plus passing yards for Russell Wilson. My man was on a heater. This Bengals defense sucks. And if it's not clear that this Bengals defense is a problem, they are a disaster. Russell was freaking cooking. It wasn't even a big Pickens game, which is the crazy part. Freiermuth went nuts. Pickens was solid. The running game, everyone got their pieces in it. But yeah, if you told me Russell Wilson got 400 yards passing in this year, I would have said, what the hell are you talking about? That ain't gonna happen. So where are we at with Pittsburgh? Because they're clearly just marching towards the playoffs at this point. Like, they're 9-3. Like, I think they're gonna end up winning this division. It's between them and the Ravens. Like, I don't think anyone else can really win the division. Where are you at with Russell Wilson moving forward? Like, this was an absurd game for him. I don't think we could expect anything close to this. But maybe in he's that mid-range QB2 for you moving forward because he's been pretty good for the most part. If you look at his points per game basis, been good. A lot of 20-plus games. He's had a few 14. Obviously, he had the one game stinker against Baltimore, but outside of that, man, he's been pretty good this year.
Yeah, he's been a QB1 on the year 3 times in 6 total games from him. So QB3, QB9, and then QB3 again against Cincinnati. That was Jets, Washington, and Cincinnati. Seems to do it on the road too. 2 of those games were on the road. Gets Cleveland at home next week. That's going to be an interesting one. Look, we talk about these interdivision matchups. This game I expected to be a little bit more low scoring because these teams know each other well. Turns out Cincinnati is absolute garbage. They're just there's 11 trash bags on the defensive side of the ball, and they're just moving them around as the offense goes nuts. Those guys, they can't cover anybody. It's insane. So Cleveland, we know they've stepped up. I think Cleveland certainly corrals this mediocre offense most weeks. So I don't expect Russ to do it there, but he'll be okay. Then Philly, not good. Then Baltimore could be problems again, interdivision. I know they're terrible against the pass, but when you only have to cover George Pickens, Calvin Austin out now. So yeah, we'll see. I don't think Russ sniffs anywhere near QB3 again for the rest of the season. I think that he can be a QB1, maybe against Baltimore, maybe against KC. But yeah, it's going to be tough. And I'm going to look elsewhere in 1 QB leagues.
Yeah, and I think Najee's the one that takes the hit in these upcoming games, right? Yeah. Because the fronts against Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Kansas City, that's 3 straight in the fantasy playoffs. Like, dude, you're going to have a hard time starting Najee in those games. He needs touchdowns. Because he got 6 targets in this game. I don't know what happened. Like, he suffered an injury. They went to Warren, and they were like, nah, let's just go back to Najee. And he had a really, really good game for him. So we'll see. But, yeah, it could be tough for him. So it's going to be interesting for that offense. Speaking of a fancy gold mine offense, the Bengals offense is just absurd. If you look at, PFF offensive grade and their EPA per play, the Bengals are basically tops in the NFL. Their offense has done everything it can this year with Joe Burrow. If he had a decent defense, they would be potentially competing for the number 1 seed. They are struggling to make the playoffs because they're 4-8 because this defense is so trash. We talk about Chase Brown just being just a stud, and he's going to be a stud the rest of the way. 19 fantasy points in this game, doing his thing. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Heck, Mike Gesicki was revitalized in this game. I don't think they're going to shut these guys down any point soon. They might the last week or 2. But this offense is just set in for get it with these guys because you have an RB1, you have potentially 2 wide receiver ones, and then you got Joe Burrow. Like, I don't know what else you could ask for from a fantasy offense. It's just money because the defense is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, and because that defense is so bad, let's go ahead and put them against some of the worst teams in the league the next couple of weeks. At Dallas in week 14, at Tennessee in week 15. They're going to go nuclear. They get Cleveland and Denver to round out the fantasy playoffs. So I don't love those matchups, but most of these guys will eat. Chase, here's a good question. Who is your RB league winner? Is it my guy, your guy, King Bucky, or is it Chase Brown?
It might be Chase Brown because as much as I love Bucky, like Chase Brown has no competition in that backfield. That's the thing. Like it's Chase Brown's backfield and it's a better offense. Like the Bengals are a better offense than the Buccaneers is the crazy thing. Yeah. And their defense is worse. So I literally think like Chase Brown, I know we talk about Bucky being the league winner. Like these two guys, having these two guys hit for you is incredible. But if you have Chase Brown, man, you fire him up. We were worried about the matchup against the Ravens. Didn't matter. He balled out. Yeah. Like this game, balled out again. Like it's just you just fire up Chase Brown. You don't worry about it. Bucky's dope. It's basically like both these guys are just incredible. You're happy you got either one of them, to tell you the truth.
For Chase Brown, he did okay. He was just 3 for 3 through the air for 30 yards over the last month. 5 for 37 and a touchdown, 9 for 52, 5 for 57. That's all through the air for Chase Brown. Yeah. This is the elite volume we want to see. That's CMC level or close to it, level of passing production in addition to what he's getting you on the ground. And we know he can ball out there. If he is given all the work, which he has been over the last month, he's going to continue to eat. I love Chase Brown. I'm going to go Bucky with that schedule, but yeah, it does even out because this Bengals defense is so terrible.
Right, and there was only one so the last 4 games since Zach Moss went down from an injury, Chase Brown has 96 touches. Khalil Herbert has 1. That's it. He has 96 out of 97 touches. Yeah. That usage is absurd. That's like breakable level running back. Like you're like, maybe give this guy a breather once in a lifetime because he's gonna die. Like, but they're gonna ride this out. Like Dynasty, like you should probably sell him just because there's a ton of running backs and there's uncertainty. This also gets into the Bucky thing too. But I think with that offense, they have a little bit more capital invested. So, I think Bucky's a little bit safer. But yeah, if you get a first round pick for these guys, you just flip them and you just call it a day because you're like, all right, cool. We had a good time. Let's see you later. But yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, man, because this is awesome for redraft. If you have these guys, you're starting Bucky and Chase Brown in your running back room, so you don't have to worry about it. Then your stacked wide receiver room, like this is how these 0 RB teams become forces with that, guys.
I have my home dynasty league. I traded for Bucky. I picked up a couple weeks ago. I picked up Chase Brown. I'm rolling out Saquon, Bucky, Chase Brown, and a bunch of amazing wide receivers and Kelsey. And
that's what I'm saying.
Because that's how I roll. I draft wide receivers. I trade for or pick up running backs. That's how you do it, at least if you're me. So I'm really excited about the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, if you went hero RB with Saquon and then you just hammered wide receivers the next 7 rounds, and they're like, all right, give me Bucky, the backup, and then I'll take a shot at Chase Brown, right? And then it's like,
Tyrone, Tracy.
Hell, this team is that. Yeah, exactly. There's you can do this consistently. Obviously, going heavy wide receiver this year has been a disaster. The only second round pick that's been good was Nico. All the rest of second wide receivers have been atrocious. Mike Evans, I think, was the 3rd round pick. But yeah, it's just been tough for those wide receivers. So if you hit it right, you've been living right. Let's go to the Vikings snatching victory out of the jaws of defeat from the Arizona Cardinals, because I don't know how they won this game. But yeah, this gets more to the Arizona offense and how disappointing it's been. It's just been so up and down, man. They have not figured it out. They should have won this game. To a couple tossly interceptions from Kyler. The offense just seems like it's lacking. I will say Marvin Harrison Jr. got there. He got 12 targets, which is what we want to see. They've been hyping him up. So that's a good sign moving forward if you have him. But overall, yeah, where are you at from Kyler from a fantasy perspective? Because he wasn't bad in this game. He just wasn't, like elite peak Kyler that we were hoping for. So what are you kind of doing with Kyler moving forward?
Yeah, he's QB 16, right? That's not what I want in my quarterback 1 leagues, even in my super flex leagues, right? I want Kyler to be that QB, that back end QB 1 weekly. That should be his floor. Unfortunately, because he's not throwing any touchdowns, he has. Here's a question for you. Guess how many multi-touchdown games through the air Kyler has this season?
It's not good. It's maybe like 2. There's not been a lot of passing touchdowns. Yeah.
Ding, rough. Ding, ding. You are correct. That's horrible, by the way.
It's bad. It's so bad.
Here's another question about Kyler Murray. Guess how many games this year has Kyler scored a rushing touchdown? How many games?
Ooh, I don't actually know. I'll say maybe like 4 or 5. It's not a lot. It's like maybe a few, but I'm not sure.
He has 4 rushing touchdowns, but he has scored them in 3 games.
Dang
Of course, in those games, Kyler is the QB5 and QB4 on the week.
Weird.
Other than one other performance where he was the QB1 because he threw 3 touchdowns and got there with yardage on the ground, Kyler is not a QB1. He's a QB1 4 times this season, right? And that's really the concern with Kyler. He's not throwing multiple touchdowns. He's not getting there in the end zone on the ground. And because those things are not connecting, Kyler's not a quarterback one. And that's really my issue here. Trey McBride, 0 passing touchdowns. James Conner, Trey McBride ran a touchdown in. James Conner, Trey Benson getting more involved. These guys are going to be utilized more around the end zone. Seattle, New England, Carolina. I mean, this is a good run out. The Rams. This is a good run out for Kyler. I'm worried.
Yeah, I wouldn't go this far, Scott, because in redraft where Kyler was taken, he was not the elite of the elite. He was in that middle round group. He's been fine. Like he's not killing you like we say CJ Stroud. Like CJ Stroud's been a far worse pick this year. He's single-handedly destroyed teams because they took him like top 4 rounds, and he's been a nightmare. Mahomes has got to come back for a resurgence. Like Stroud's been much, much worse. Richardson, he's getting that ceiling like he's in there. So yeah, I will say Kyler's been disappointing though. I don't want to be like, oh, he's been great. No, he hasn't lived up to it too. We do see your question. We'll get to the Monday Night Football game tonight after we finish this recap from the from the Cardinals and the Vikings, but we'll get to that one in a second. Yeah, it's been bad. I don't know what else you can do, man. You kind of just have to write it out. And dynasty wise, he's valued in that range. Maybe you could pivot off of him. You could, if you want to pay up to tier to the elites, go for it. Because the Hurtses, the Allens, the Lamars, they've been really, really good. Lamar's been the best by far. But if you want to cheer up to those guys, yeah. So it kind of is what it is with the offense. McBride's great. Like, just give him this is what we talk about with McBride. If they fix that, 12 receptions, 12 targets, just balled out 100 yards. Like, he's just doing it for you, man.
Crazy.
We love McBride. If you drafted McBride this year, you're loving that. He's been really good. He's been doing it without touchdowns, which is the crazy part. Like, I ask this every week. Can we get this man some fucking receiving touchdowns? What do we got to do? Scheme it up, man. I don't know. Like, it's so frustrating with this offense. This is what it is. So let's fit to the Vikings. Aaron Jones fumbled. Like, he's fumbled again. He keeps fumbling. I don't know what's going on with him with the fumbles, because that's never really been a thing. Like, this is 3 straight games, and he had 2 in this game. He fumbled. He's got 4 fumbles on the year. He's career-wise, he's one of the lower fumble guys in the NFL. Like, he does not do that. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just a lot of just variance hitting him at the wrong time. And for the Vikings, that can't be good. But we saw how it kind of like worked out for him, where they're like, yeah, let's give a few guys a few more carries. I mean, Akers had 4, Chandler had 2. It's just unfortunate. What are you at all worried about Aaron Jones moving forward? Or do you think it's just something, because he only had 5 carries in this game? Like, it's not a lot of carries. They clearly, this offense struggled because they only had 9 or 11 rushing attempts in this game. They were behind basically the entire game. They pulled it out at the end with Sammy Ball game doing his thing, getting it done, which I was surprised that happened. They got that touchdown late, and I was like, "Oh, snap! Johnny Monk got a touchdown. Hey, how about that?" Yeah. What are you doing with Aaron Jones? You worried at all about him, or are you kind of just treating him as that solid RB2 he's been?
Yeah, I will say that final drive, Justin Jefferson came alive. Like, he did what he needed to do. But talking about Aaron Jones. Just 28 total yards for Aaron Jones. That includes 3 receptions. So 8 total touches. But if he doesn't score, he got the receiving touchdown in this one. If he doesn't score, his day is far worse than the RB 28 in half PPR. He's like the RB 78. So just an atrocious day for Aaron Jones. Look, they're not going to give anyone touches. I don't think Cam Akers gets more work. We saw over the last month and a half that Aaron Jones was hovering around that 20 to 25 touch range weekly. I expect that to continue, but we need to start believing in this Arizona defense. Jonathan Gannon has these guys humming. They are young, they are hungry, and this team is probably going to make the playoffs. So I think you really, really need to be careful. I do not know who the Cardinals play next week or going forward. I know I just read that out a few minutes ago, but really be careful with your fantasy players when they play Arizona. I'll just read that out real quickly. It is next week is Seattle. Yikes. There's a lot of guys I love on Seattle. Then New England, Carolina. But Rams in the fantasy championship, that could be disastrous. It's going to be disastrous for at least one of those weapons in Kyren, Puka, and Cup. I just don't know if we know who it is.
Well, yeah, this game this upcoming week is going to have a hefty deciding factor on who wins this division. Because if Seattle wins this game, they're going to go 2 games up on the Cardinals. They'll have a lead on their hands. Like, they're 1 game up on the Cardinals right now. So, but hey, Seahawks, win this game, you'll be feeling really good about it. Obviously, they have to play and win the rest of the decision. But this game coming up has massive implications on who wins that division. We'll see. I don't know, man. Cardinals are a tough matchup. That defense is good. The thing about the offense is like it's kind of there. If they could figure out a way to turn it up moving forward with that defense they have, like they could be a problem the rest of the way. We've also said this about the Rams. They've struggled too, where they have like all these teams have kind of warps with them. The 49ers just look like they're just like sayonara. It's not happening for them.
No, it's tough.
That's just so many injuries for them. But yeah, like it's a solid young team. They're still year 2 with this. So like, they're moving forward. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. They just need Kyler to figure it out, man. He's got to figure it out. He's getting paid all that money. Like, show us that you're worth it, Kyler. This is your time to shine. So for them, we'll see. I don't know, man. We're just waiting.
Yeah. C. Never. Sorry. Scott. Yeah. So the Patriots go to Arizona. That defense will be Swiss cheese. Yeah. No. I love Drake Maye. Love what he's doing, but no chance.
Hey, shoot out.
I think we see, what was it? 19-3. Was that the Chicago score with the Pats? Yeah, it's going to be another one of those. It's going to be another one of those.
Oh, goodness, man. It's not great. Before we get up to the next game, let's get this question as I'm all over the place right now from Scott asking about Judy. So Monday Night Football, we got Broncos. We have the Browns. Do you think Judy could have a big night against the Broncos defense? Because they're without Cedric Tillman. He's already out. It's Judy, it's Elijah Moore, and it's David Njoku are going to be passing out options. Are you confident anyone can have a big game? Because I got Njoku in a ton of places. I need double-digit points from him. Let's go Njoku. Do your thing. You're my guy. Make it happen. Do you think any of these guys can have a good game?
No. But I think it has to be Njoku, right? Njoku's the one that I would trust. The problem is, Denver has been really, really good just on that side of the ball. Look, Jameis will sling it. So we know that he's not going to be afraid of Patrick Surtain. Does that mean Jameis throws 5 interceptions in this game? Probably. But Jerry Jeudy will have his opportunities. Will he get 18 points? I would say no. Could he get you 13, 14 points?
Yeah. The thing about the Broncos is they're bottom 10 in points allowed to running backs, bottom 6 in tight ends fantasy points allowed, bottom 2 in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. So like across the board, it's a bad matchup. This is what we talk about. You have 2 competing things where you have Jameis. They're going to chuck it a lot because they ain't gonna be able to run with that offensive line. I know Nick Chubb's been super efficient, so who knows? Maybe Nick Chubb goes YOLO Nick Chubb mode and does that, but I think it's more than likely it's going to be tough for all of these guys. You just have to trust the volume like we talked about. Without Tillman, it consolidates around these times. So, yeah, I think Judy could have a decent PPR game. I don't think he's going to have a major game for you. And yeah, Njoku, just give him 10 targets. We'll be good. That's all I'm saying. Just make it happen. Let's do that. Let's jump to our next game because we have quite a few games to get to here. With the Colts and the Patriots. I mean, yeah, this game was strange, I will say. It was kind of fun to watch where the Colts figured out with that game-winning drive down the end, but it was ugly getting there. Like, he only had 109 yards passing. Richardson had. The carries were there. The carries will always get him there. 9 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown. That's kind of what saved his day. Overall, we expected a big game from him. Well, we pretty much got it because the Patriots defense just is not good. Where are you at with Mitch AR? Are you moving forward? I'm like, the way I'm looking at it from this rookie class he was a part of, like, he's the clear guy I want from last year's class. Like, it's him. I'd say Bryce Young's in there. Like, you could talk about a few of these guys. CJ Stroud has struggled. So I think it's Anthony Richardson, the clear guy of that group. But are you confidently starting and moving him forward? Are you just all the way in? Or you have some trepidation with him?
I have a little trepidation. It's a bye week, and then it's Denver. Not great. Tennessee and New York Giants, right? So, So, I mean, look, I think A-Rich is an interesting guy, but this is going to be one of his better games of the season. QB 8. He was QB 4 against the Jets a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about 2 very bad defenses. And so, look, Denver, Tennessee can stifle this defense in division as well. And then the Giants to roll it out. So, no, I'm not confident starting Anthony Richardson, but it's nice to see his floor develop. This is what we all expected. I think he'll get to the ceiling, but also Josh Downs was out. We'll have to see. I don't think he's on IR.
No, I don't think he is.
Yeah. I mean, they were kind of assuming a multi-week absence, but look, I think that's, the best we'll see of Anthony Richardson, and he's on a bye. Just drop him. in redraft and go get somebody else. Maybe the Giants in week 17, but
well, I mean, they got the Broncos out of the bye. That's just disturbing. Like
at Denver,
it might be rough for them for a couple of weeks. Like we saw Taylor. Like Taylor got the touchdown. It was a good game for him. This is if you had Taylor, you had to play him. You know it. In Dynasty, like his values take so much, it's really hard to sell him for a decent price anymore. So it might be on the flip where you might want to see the price because a contending team might have Taylor and they can't play him in the situation literally the next 2 weeks. So if you're rebuilding, so that's the thing. Like we should be fine with the bye with this entire offense. We'll see if Downs is good coming out of it. Should be. I don't really want to play him against Denver. I don't want to play any of these guys.
No.
Denver, but we'll see.
Maybe Tennessee, but that's in division. And then do you have the stones to play him at the New York Giants in your fantasy championship? Go somewhere else. Just drop him in redraft. I would.
I don't mind. I think you could have a good game against the Giants. Like I don't.
You
Tennessee and the Giants. Like you could talk yourself into it. It really depends who you have on your roster. It depends who else is on your roster, right? Like this gets into the Drake Maye situation too. Like Drake Maye was good, and we'll transition to the Patriots here real quickly. Like he gave you 20 points again. He's kind of done it where it's mostly there. He's basically carrying this roster on his back because the talent around him is just not that good. Stevenson once again was just didn't get a touchdown, so he was disappointing. He had 73 yards. It was okay, but it's Stevenson. Gibson from Scott Fishbowl perspective was good, but outside of that, he kind of had the touchdown where it kind of came out of nowhere. These wide receivers, good luck. Douglas, no, thank you. Bourne shows up again. Booty, like, I don't know, man. Jalen Polk's just a disaster. So Hunter Henry was by far their best option in this game. We talked about Hunter Henry. Like, if you have Henry, you could fire him up. They're another good team that's on a bye. So, like, we don't got to spend too much time on them. But it's just Drake Maye. He's shown you what you want to see from a rookie quarterback.
Yes.
I think it's been a success for the Patriots from that point moving forward. We'll see how it goes from here. Add some pieces. Then we look at the next year dynasty perspective. Like get in on Drake Maye while you can because the price is going to go up. Like they're going to make a move and the price is going to go up. So I still think it's time to buy low on Drake Maye.
Yep. Yes, well, 100%. Talk about it.
Yeah, like he's really, really good. And like this is who he's playing. We're just talking about the pieces. One of the worst offensive lines. He's QB 25 from an overall perspective, but this does not get into his points per game basis because he's missed a lot of games, right? Left early on a couple others. And the games he's played over 50% of snaps, 22 fantasy points, 16, 12, 19, 14, and 20. He's doing this in probably one of the worst offensive environments. I don't think I don't know about you. Do you think Alex Van Pelt stays another year outside of this year? Or do you think?
God, I hope not. I really hope not. He needs to be done. So stupid. Yeah. But then what are we doing? Are we going out and getting Shane Waldron to run this offense?
No, that's worse. That's a downgrade. That's a downgrade.
It scares me, man. So I don't know. Drake Maye is kind of in spite of this offense doing good things. After the bye, it's Arizona. Yikes. Buffalo, yikes, and then the Chargers, yikes.
Yeah, you don't want to play him.
But Drake Maye is getting there on his rushing volume, roughly 5 to 6 carries per game, and it looks like some quick math, roughly 40 yards a game. So, I mean, that's the elite rushing QB threshold that you want to hit is roughly 40 yards a game, and if he's doing that, he's got to stay floor. But no, I don't want to fire him up in the fantasy playoffs. There should be better options. But buy him in
we 100%. We talked about this. The only guys rushing for more like rushing yards per game, it's like Jalen Hurts, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Jayden Daniels. Daniels actually come down due to the injury, so it might be closer to those guys. And Bo Nix is right there too. So these two like white quarterbacks you not expect to rush for a lot, they rush for a good amount. So if you have those guys, that's what's boosting their floor and ceiling. So if you have them, like with the bye with him, I don't think you want to play him. It's a rough matchup for him, but like it's the same thesis with Nix, right? Not a good situation around him. He's doing good stuff. So both these guys have been good for you. If you have them, you're happy with what you've seen so far, I'll say, for dynasty perspective. So you build around them long term, do for it.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Let's, but no, they're gonna take a tackle.
Do it.
They should
either one.
We talked about it. Draft Tet, get T in free agency, get a couple of free agent tackles or just piece it together for another year. Let Drake Maye run wild and actually let him throw to two guys who consistently get open. And then Hunter Henry can be another guy who gets open when those two guys aren't available. You need another running back. I mean, Ramondre's locked in, so he'll be there next year. But he's struggling. So
he's not.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the running back that can really elevate the situation around him, and you're kind of seeing that the last couple of years, right? Like in a good situation with a good offensive line, I think he would be good. It's kind of like it reminds me of Najee somewhere. Yeah, like get the guy that plays both positions, Travis Hunter. He can play defense for you. He can play offense. There you go. 2 versus 1 stone.
They need it.
Do that,
They
make it
need
happen.
it.
They definitely need it. So you know what I'm saying? If they go get the tackle, sure. I don't care. Like just build pieces around him. Let's talk about my Seahawks. Oh my God. Did you guys watch this game? This game was all crack. Like I watched this game and I was like, just chaos everywhere. Things were going down. You know what was happening.
Crazy.
Aaron Rodgers missed a wide open Garrett Wilson in the end zone. Like he had a nasty route and it just missed him. And I'm like, bro, like this is why you know Aaron Rodgers not to speak, because Aaron Rodgers probably would not miss that throw. Yeah, they had a turnover in the end zone. They took back to the house. The big fella going the other way. This game was chaos. Like I was watching this game halfway through and I was just like, dude, I don't know if this game could get any more chaotic. Walker did not get there. And this is what sucks. The thing is that the problem was that Charbonnet stole the touchdown. Is they were down there. Charbonnet had the touchdown run. That's what really made Walker's night just a nightmare. But the thing is, like, we're not getting the full usage of the passing game from Walker, where Charbonnet played a little bit more. So if we look at snaps around, like Charbonnet, 45% of snaps in this. So I don't know what it is about Walker. Like we've seen his snaps kind of trend downward. He peaked at 76% week 9. They went to the bye. It's trended down 73, 64, 61% of snaps. And overall, his workloads come down. These matchup, Arizona, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, to round out the season, it's not great from a fantasy perspective.
It's not good at all.
Where are you kind of at with Ken Walker? Because he went from being a locked-in top 6 running back midway through the season and has kind of gone the opposite direction. What are you doing with him? Because, I mean, we're basically at the trade deadline and redraft. Like, this is the week you have to trade. But dynasty perspective, what are you doing with Ken Walker? Do you have concerns? Do you want to move off of him? What do you thought process?
No, I don't want to move off of him. It's just a really tough run out for the rest of the season. I don't think Charbonnet maintains in stealing it, and I think didn't Walker fumble in this game as well?
I feel like I remember that. Yeah, he did. You're right. Yeah.
So that could be a reason. But look, he's still getting the opportunities on the ground and through the air. It just didn't materialize with a touchdown. And, you know, the Jets came to play this week for whatever reason. That defense was going off. But we know that Seattle is one of the worst offensive lines in the league. I'm surprised Geno Smith hasn't been decapitated yet this season. Let's hope that doesn't happen on an NFL field. But yeah, over the last 3 weeks since the bye, San Francisco, fine. Arizona, not a good matchup. New York Jets have been fine. And it's RB 15, 15, and 41. He only got there against San Francisco because of the touchdown on the ground. He only got there against Arizona because he went 4 for 52 through the air. So, yeah, I'm concerned with the run out for the rest of the season for him. But you got to play him. He's your RB2 now, not your RB1. Hope you have a better RB1 option, and you should expect his production to be less.
Yeah, we're seeing like the truly elite running back step forward for fantasy production. They don't have to be necessarily the best running backs in the NFL, but either they have all the volume in good offenses or they have really a good passing down set. Like this gets into a couple of these guys. Walker falls into kind of that guys you like, but they're not getting everything. So there's works to their game. He's kind of like the RB12-ish. Like when you do rankings, he's going to be RB12 to RB16 weekly, kind of in that range of guys. That's where he kind of falls. And the offense has struggled, to your point, the offense line. Geno missed a wide open Noah Fant from end zone, missed that touchdown, so that kind of hurt the offense on top of it too. It's just a lot of things that are close for them. They're just not fully there. But like we're seeing with JSN, like he was solid in this game. Like from a target share perspective, though, it was DK Metcalf again, like establishing, like, hey guys, I'm the alpha here. I know we talked about rankings wise, we were worried about Metcalf because I mean he was super inefficient, but like he still got there, right? On the flip side, I think for the Jets, the offense has similar issues too, where it's fully just not there. Breece Hall, goodness gracious, man. Like, we need more from you. He fumbled, and basically, it's just a nightmare game for Breece Hall. 6 fantasy points. It did not come together. Had no receptions in this game. They saw Isiah Davis get the touchdown, similar to Charbonnet. He took the touchdown away. It did not happen for these offensive guys. Braylon Allen didn't do much anything either, so good luck figuring out this backfield. For your point on the Jets, we talked about this on the show. Garrett Wilson is losing the targets to our guy Davante Adams. He once again led him in targets. Now he's up to like 15 more in the games that they've played together.
Crazy.
I think you have to rank Davante Adams over Garrett Wilson. Like I think you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Where both of these guys are going to be top 20 options. It's similar to Seattle. Both these guys are top 20 options.
Yeah.
Maybe each week in matchups they do a little bit better. So, but yeah, once again, Davante Adams got the touchdown. Garrett Wilson did not. That made the difference because both of these guys, like 50% of receptions for Garrett Wilson, 5 of 10. Davante Adams is 5 of 12. It was not good for either one of these guys.
Yes.
Part of this is the issues with Rodgers. What do you think moving forward with this offense? You just kind of have him, you played him, or when you get in rankings, you kind of could bench them for other guys?
Yeah, no, I think I made the mistake of benching Davante this week. I will not do that again. I didn't trust Rodgers, and he's proved to be capable and have that connection, which really showed out this week more than it has with both him and Davante as members of the Jets.
Yeah.
But Miami, Jacksonville, the Rams, and then Buffalo. Buffalo's the only one that worries me. Otherwise, I'm not scared of any of those matchups. I'm firing up both of these wide receivers. I'm firing up Brees. Hopefully, his limited work was not just a result of the fumble, but something planned because he came in with an injury. Forget what it was. But we were talking about that on the show earlier in the week, that maybe he will be a little limited because of this injury that popped up. Hopefully that's the case, and he just gets back to it. He's got a few juicy matchups here coming up. And Buffalo, I mean, that's the Brees Hall game for sure.
Yeah. I think that's the one where you're like, all right, we're back, baby. Because we see this with Buffalo. Like, they just gouge fantasy points running back. We said this all year. Hey, Troll Force, don't worry, man. Like, he had struggled the last couple of weeks. I don't blame you for benching him. But you know what? This is the thing when you get the guys that are the alphas in their offenses. This can happen sometimes. They lose out, right? So, it's sometimes the rankings were close. We had Terry above JSN, but we wanted to play JSN as well too, right? But sometimes it happens. That's how it goes. I feel like I've made the mistake too, or I'm like, I play the wrong guy, and you're like, oh no, this is the hindsight bias, and it is what it is. I mean, Jamie, you can. It's tough. Like, I don't think he's ever gonna get a major role. Like, Braylon Allen still played a role. It's not like Braylon Allen lost everything in this game. So it's so tough to figure out, man. Like, it is what it is, right? With these backfields. You can take them if you're on deeper league, sure. If you need a running back and hopefully something works out in his favor, I don't mind doing that. But I wouldn't go out of my way to claim Isaiah Davis. It's just kind of there's too many running backs in the backfield for everything.
Yeah.
Let's go to our next game and talk about the Tennessee Titans offense and the Washington Commanders. This game was just rough. Washington looked like an absolute juggernaut. Yeah. Tennessee, I know you're our Tony Pollard guy. You've been our Tony Pollard guy this entire season. This was my concern, but like, he saw basically all the touches in that offense from the running backs. It's just when you get blown out this bad, the running back just gets taken away. The game scripted out of the game. With their matchups coming out, do you have hope for Pollard, or are you worried rest of the season with the teams they're playing? Like, these are some good matchups as far as running back points for they got Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Indy, all are top tier teams as far as giving up fantasy points to running backs. Are you worried long term for Tony Pollard, or was this just a one game kind of like just like hindsight where it's like, we'll get back to it next week?
No, this is just one game. We were always a little bit concerned about this game in relation to the rest of them. Houston, we saw what he could do, and Tajay wasn't around, but Tajay wasn't really around in this game either. They go home to face Jacksonville and Cincinnati in the next 2 weeks, and then they go to Indianapolis and then to Jacksonville. It's outside of the Buccaneers, it's probably the best schedule. I know we're talking about a lesser offense, but there's only two guys in this offense. It's Calvin Ridley. It's Tony Pollard. They both eat. Will Levis has proven capable enough. The only thing is this guy going to stop scoring touchdowns? I don't know. He has to at some point, right? They've got to go to somebody else, but he hasn't. So he got two more, right? So look, I don't know. Listen, you can fire him up as well. I think all three of these guys are viable in this offense. It's not Chig unless he breaks off a broken play like he did 2 weeks ago. It's probably not Tajay unless they really want to see what they have in him, which they should. I'm riding Pollard to a fantasy championship and Calvin Ridley too.
Yeah, I got in one of my best ball leagues, my team is trash, and I got a dude trying to buy Pollard for a late second, and I'm like, bro, get out of here. It's not happening. You got to up their offer. So we'll see if he pays it or not, because he's the number one seed. I'm like, get out of here, dude. I know where your second is. I'm not stupid. So we'll see how that happens for him. Hey, you know who I'm talking about. You know who you are. Come buy Pollard if you want him. Let's go to Washington. We had the blow-up game for Terry McLaurin. It finally happened. We had a few down games where the target share everything was there. Finally had our Terry McLaurin do his thing in this game, 27 fantasy points. Him and Jayden Daniels were on another level. The running backs all got there. Brian Robinson looked good. I think the takeaway is, holy crap, Chris Rodriguez had 15 carries, had a touchdown. He was really good in this game. So with Eckler being out for an extended period of time for the next 3 games, I think when we talk about running backs to pick up, I would much rather go after Chris Rodriguez in this offense with the offense that they have. Like, we thought it was going to be McNichols. McNichols was more of the guy that returned kicks in this game. He had a few carries, but like not much else. So I would rather go after Chris Rodriguez. Now, the games, they do have a bye coming up. So if you're counting on running backs, this is Chris Rodriguez, maybe the long-term play for New Orleans and Philly. New Orleans can be had, Philadelphia not so much.
Yep.
So it would be more of a week 15 game. But yeah, man, you just ride Terry. Like, it is what it is. He's awesome. Top 12 running wide receiver moving forward. So yeah. Offense was good. We had concerns about Jayden Daniels. No, he's good. Ertz had a touchdown. We talk about being just the floor play. That's Ertz. It is what it is with this offense. Not too much to talk about. Anything else you want to talk about with the Washington?
Nope. You play Terry against Philly. I'd be concerned, but you're probably going to play him still.
Yeah. We'll talk about Jacksonville because Lawrence is definitely not. I'm just putting Lawrence on IR. We're not like that injury was troubling. Like you do the thing with the hands and the body, and it's like, oof, that's not. Yeah. That's not what you want to see. So this sucks for Brian Thomas Jr. Hopefully Trevor Lawrence is okay, no long-term injury or anything like that. But I'm expecting Mac Jones to play the rest of the season for the Jacksonville Jaguars because I don't think you want to risk it as well. Brian Thomas Jr. and he could have had a monster day. There was 2 potential deep shots that were missed where he could have had an extra 150 yards on top of what he did on top of it. If you follow social media, you can just see him. I don't have to mention him too much. Is Brian Thomas Jr. your rookie wide receiver 1? If he's not, where does he rank for you?
No, he's not my rookie 1. He's definitely above Rome.
Yes, he is.
Worthy. I would question. I would put Ladd over him. So I am probably sitting at 4. I'm not willing to downgrade Neighbors. The talent is clearly there. If they can get a capable quarterback in, he's going to be the one. I'm not ready to downgrade Harrison. I think that's largely a product of whatever the hell they're doing on offense at Kyler Murray. He's my 2. So those have flopped. But then I think it's Ladd, and then it's Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I think when we talk about yards per out run, Brian Thomas Jr. having a 2.25 in the Jacksonville offense is really super impressive. Oh, yeah. He's right there next to Ladd. It's like him and Brock Bowers. Those guys are all top 15 on like for rookies of all time. Like it's the year 2000. They're doing really, really good stuff. So if you have any one of these guys, I think you're super excited. Yeah, I think he's top 4 locked in. However you want to put him.
Yes.
I know people are holding on to Harrison, but I'm more concerned about Harrison than what we have not seen from him with Kyler compared to Brian Thomas Jr. So I have those guys flipped. But yeah, you can make the case for any one of those guys. So now let's talk about CJ Stroud and the Houston offense because they were pretty good. Like you saw a couple deep shots. We saw it's Nico Collins, man. Like that's what it is. Nico Collins once again, 11 receptions, 119 yards. Tank Dell, dude. I don't think you can consistently start Tank Dell at this point moving forward. It's far too inconsistent. Stroud only had 1 touchdown. I don't know. Mixon got there. It's literally Mixon, Nico. The rest of the guys, you don't know what you're going to get. Do you think we're going to get that Stroud comeback, or is it just maybe 2025 is when we see CJ Stroud kind of live up to what we saw as a rookie?
God damn, I have no idea. I have no idea what the hell's wrong with CJ Stroud, and I wish I did. I'm trying to send myself something because I want to post it here, but obviously trying to talk at the same time as doing technology does not always work for myself. So, but yeah, listen, Jesse, why don't you talk about Stroud and let me do this for a minute, and then I can.
Yeah, you're good. I mean, the whole thing with Stroud is just the touchdowns are not there, and he is not a mobile quarterback. So we talk about guys that are not mobile quarterbacks. He only has 43 rushing yards this entire season. What that does is from a quarterback perspective with these guys. I know when people were talking about him being a top 3 option, I thought it was freaking absurd in Dynasty. Like we were putting the cart in front of the horse because you need to pass at like a ridiculous rate, right? Like that's the thing with Stroud. So when they were like putting him above like Hurts and these guys in Dynasty, I'm just sitting there like, what are we doing, folks? This bet you're making is being Stroud, just being this truly generational quarterback. And I know we were really excited because all the weapons were there. But we're seeing the downside of that. And when the efficiency is off, it's just a little bit off or whatever it is. Like you're seeing this. Like I think he's been the pick that's killed you from quarterbacks. Like Mahomes has been better. All of these guys have done it. Stroud is not. And Stroud is, you're struggling to get really good play from him. I think he has 20%. He has 3 games of 20 points or more from like in a 6-point passing touchdown league. Outside of that, man, it has just been rough. Like I'm looking right here from week 7, it's 5, it's 13, it's 11, it's 10, it's 10, it's 17, 15. And if you're starting that, you need other guys to carry it for you. So it's been not good for Stroud, man. Like I hate where it's at. I think if you want to buy him low, if people are kind of tired with him, it's probably a good time to buy low in Dynasty because this is what we do with the market fund game and all that nonsense. But yeah, the ceiling is just rough. Oh, is this the EPA thing?
I totally agree. We're going low budget. Yeah. This is your NFL run block and pass block composite rankings as of last week. You see where the Texans are? Where am I? Where's
It's
my
not good.
finger?
Yeah,
Here.
bottom
You
left.
see them
Yep.
here? Yeah. That means that the Texans are average in terms of pass blocking, but the Texans are second worst because they're worse than the Titans
Mhm.
in run blocking, right? So I don't know what the hell's going on with the Texans because they're not average at pass blocking. Is CJ Stroud holding the ball too long? Is he not making the proper reads right away? Are guys just not getting open right away for him? Like, I'm not sure. Is the timing off? I don't know exactly what it is with Houston, but the pass blocking is holding up enough in terms of how those guys are doing, against the opposing pass rush, that CJ Stroud should be better. So I don't know what the hell is happening here. But also Joe Mixon's like fantasy points over expected. It must be astronomical and historical because if the run blocking is that bad, maybe somebody made a mistake in that data. Maybe it's the other way around, but damn, Joe Mixon, amazing. CJ Stroud, real bad.
Yeah, Joe Mixon gets all the work there. It's kind of is what it is, right? He fits that scheme really well, even though the offense lies up good. I'll just give you the Stroud stat where last year for a rookie, his yards per attempt were 8.05. In his second year, it has dropped almost a full yard. Now that doesn't sound like it's massive. He's at 7.24. That is substantial on a per play basis. If you do this and you play this out through the entire year, you're seeing this kind of do it. And they lost Nico for a good amount of time. They've gotten Nico back. Nico's been the one guy that's doing everything. Like Nico's like, I'm one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. The rest of the guys, that's where the problem is coming. And you're seeing it's just the offensive line can really disrupt an entire season. We're seeing that. You need someone to carry that. We're seeing we didn't have the expectation for Drake Maye, but you're seeing Drake Maye kind of go through the same stuff, right? Where all the issues around him. Stroud just has a better skill position players around him. It just kind of is what it is. But like Houston's going to make the playoffs. They're too good. Their defense is still good. They're 8-5 on the year. They'll probably win that division, but there's not really any like Super Bowl aspirations for this team right now. They're clearly not what they were. Like going into the year, like, hey, maybe they could win Super Bowl. This year, I'm like, they're not going to win the Super Bowl until it gets straightened out.
And I think we haven't talked about it enough, but the loss of Diggs hurt this offense bad. I mean, I know Joe Mixon has been carrying the load. He's been awesome. But yeah, I mean, Diggs was available around the red zone. Nico was basically taking them down the field, getting the longer plays and getting into the end zone. And Stephon Diggs was being used like Keenan Allen has been used the last couple of weeks. That doesn't exist anymore because for whatever reason, Tank Dell is not that guy.
Yeah, it has not gone well. I mean, he suffered a knee injury, got shot, all these fun things. It hasn't worked out for him. Yeah. Let's kind of speed this up a little bit because we're going incredibly on top of the show. All right, the Rams with 21-14. The Rams are back to 500. The Saints, no one expected them to really do much. They've had so many injuries. They lose Taysom Hill, which sucks big time. If you had Taysom Hill, you were counting on him. He's out for the year. That knee got destroyed on a carry. Sucks. Yeah. For the Saints, I will say, is there anyone else outside of Alvin Kamara? Is it MVS or bust? Like, are you going to play anyone else on this offense besides Alvin Kamara? Like, it just seems like MVS keeps getting those touchdowns. I don't know what else to do with him.
I think you have to play MVS. This is Derek Carr. This is the one thing that Derek Carr is good at. He can throw along the boundary, deep down the field. When MVS is operating in that area and he has the speed he has, as long as he keeps catching the football, which he has been doing, then he is viable. He's been catching the football, so you fire him up. But yeah, it's Alvin Kamara. I've heard like Juwan Johnson. He had a good game, but sometimes it's Moreau. Sometimes, they have a fair amount they have another guy there. I can't even think of his name. But yeah, Alvin Kamara, yes. MBS if you have to.
Yeah, like he's kind of a desperation stream, Johnson. It just kind of is what it is, right? I mean, they've been focusing him on the entire year, right? Like, and he's still doing it. So we talked about him being the inefficient king at the beginning of the season. Like, if it's that's the worst case, you're still getting a top 12 running back. Like, it just is what it is. You see this with Kamara because he gets the receptions. Like, he saw over 112 rushing yards in this game, which is pretty impressive for Kamara against the Rams defense, which is shown. Like, he's down to like 4.34 yards per carry. He was well above 5. It's trending the wrong direction, but he gets enough volume. I'm not too worried about Kamara. Like, it's just, you just plug and play.
Giants, Washington, Green Bay, Vegas, at least 2 of those games, he will go off in.
Yeah, his floor is like 10 points a game, and then it goes up from there. I think the lowest he's seen is like 8, and every other game's been double digits. You know that with Kamara. Like, it's a floor play, and the ceiling can be quite high with his usage. Yep. For the Rams, that offense, man, like they are struggling. I don't know what else to do, but Kyron's like, I will say this game was kind of terrifying from a Kyron Williams perspective because it was break for him early. I don't know if he was in trouble in the doghouse or what happened. But then they're like, oh, just kidding. It's Kyren Williams. And then it was Kyren Williams the rest of the game. He got a touchdown. I know people have been worried about him because he did not get the touchdown. He's still not getting the passing downs. So that's like the passing volume. Like he had that middle stretch where 7-3-6. Then he had 2 straight games not a target. He only got 1 target in this game. But he had over 100 yards rushing. He got the touchdown savings the game this day. Where are you kind of at, Rico? I guess we talk about it for a second. Move on. Like, are you still worried about him, or is he that solid RB1 moving forward?
No, I'm still worried about him. I think Cooper Kupp was the odd man out in this one, just 3 receptions for 17 yards. So that's not going to be the case weekly. That's an anomaly for Cooper Kupp. Now, Puka Nacua has proven that he is the guy who's going to eat every week. So he was great. But Demarcus Robinson keeps stealing these touchdowns. He is reliable enough for a couple of targets a game, and maybe he gets you a touchdown. Matt Stafford loves him. But yeah, Kyren Williams, he scored in the last 2. That's been great, but just RB17 and RB9 this week because he got the volume. Yeah, he might get you a touchdown. You fire him up. He's an RB2. You hope for an RB1 week, but those have been few and far between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 RB1 weeks this season for Kyren.
A lot of them early. A lot of them were early, and you're right. So you're seeing that with Kyren. If you don't get the passing down work, this is the Derrick Henry situation. If they're in losing game scripts, it can go worse for him. But the thing about him is he doesn't really come off the field. So we'll see if that Bucky or if the Blake Corum thing's just one-time thing or whatever it is. But just keep your eyes open with Kyren. You're still gonna play him.
Guess how many targets Kyren Williams has had in the last month? 4 games.
Dude, it's been not good the last 3 games. He didn't. I just like this. He had 2. He didn't have 2 for 2 straight games. So he's had, and then he had that stretch before that was good. It's just been really up or down for him. It's not been good, man.
Give me a number.
I know he had 1 today, so I'll say 1.
Yep. It's a trick question because 4 games ago he had 6 targets, but then 0, 0, and 1. So 7 targets in the last month. Yikes.
Yeah, it's not good. Let's jump to the game we want to talk about because, man, Bryce Young is that dude. I don't know where this Bryce Young came from. Fucking stud all of a sudden. He looks excellent. Man. You're seeing this guy make incredible throws under duress. Does not matter. Pinpoint accuracy. I remember everybody was clowning that pick. Maybe Carolina's got their quarterback. I think they have their quarterback. Hell? He looks awesome. This game went to overtime. Tampa Bay figured it out. I want to say Bucky Irving for the last part just because Bucky Irving's incredible. We'll talk about that second. Carolina, are you worried about Chuba Hubbard moving forward? Because Jonathan Brooks is starting to eat into that workload a little bit more. He's seeing more workload moving forward. I think, are you confidently going to say Chuba Hubbard's the guy rest of the season? Or is there a scenario where Jonathan Brooks can carve out more work in that offense?
Jonathan Brooks looked so good yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Oh, my God. What was the split between them? Was it 50-50?
It was a little bit less than that. He still saw 21% of snaps, but workload usage, Hubbard had 12 touches. Brooks had 9, and Brooks had more of the passing down. I think the one thing with the fumble really hurt Hubbard, and they were like, all right, screw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Brooks looked at it. From a end of his game script, he had 41 total yards. It didn't look great, but if you watch him make those plays, man, that's they have the capital invested in him. They clearly, we thought of him as the best back in this class. Obviously, Bucky's been above and beyond and doing really well. But our priors on Jonathan Brooks are all still there. I still love Jonathan Brooks. Yeah. I was waiting on something. It took week 13 to get there. We finally saw it. So I want to see it. Just give him work, man. This season's lost. You want to see what you have between these guys, right? So make it happen.
Philly and Arizona still on the schedule, but Dallas in week 15, Tampa in week 17.
Money.
You're playing Brooks in the fantasy.
Dude, I'm going to be on these contending teams with Brooks, and I'm going to be real tempted. But I'm going to rather have it where I just watch him on my bench. I don't want to trust him that much, right? And on these rebuilding teams I had Brooks, though, I'm fire him up. Let's see what you got because I don't.
That's it.
So it is what it is. Nice. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see. I think it's going to trend upward more and more and more because he looked awesome. So it's he's an explosive monster. We'll see. Because I was in college, he was over 22 miles an hour. At some of these deep runs, the dude's got speed. So, all right, let's go to your guy, Bucky. Good God, man. This is ridiculous usage. Rachaad White still had a decent day. He gave 8 fantasy points because he was efficient on his carries. But Bucky had 28 opportunities, 185 yards. He had a touchdown. Dude, just this guy is out of control. He is on an all-time heater right now. It's 17, 27, 27 in his last 3 games from a fantasy perspective. Yeah, you just want to talk about Bucky for a second? It just looks so good.
I know they were playing the Carolina Panthers. but on 25 carries, Bucky Irving ran 6.1 yards a clip on the Carolina. You're in the NFL. That shouldn't happen on 25 carries. He was absolutely balling out on the ground. He weaves through traffic in the middle. He is a smooth receiver out of the backfield. Like there's the only reason Rachaad White gets on the field now is twofold. Number one, Bucky needs to breathe, right? That's one reason. And then, And then number two is because we have this guy. That's it. Like Sean Tucker isn't a thing. That was proven to us yesterday against the Panthers, right? That was not necessary. They didn't need him. I don't know if he saw snaps. He certainly didn't see a touch. And last week, he was he got like 1 goal line carry out of the blue. So look, Rachaad White is done. I think you're flexing him and you're praying for him to live off touchdowns, but he did not get the touchdown this game. We've been talking about this for over a month. Rachaad White has been living off of touchdowns. So Bucky has a phenomenal schedule. He is the number one. The Bucs should be up in every single game going forward. You fire him up. He is the RB. He's a top 3 running back. He's a top 3 RB rest of season for fantasy. He might be the RB1 for fantasy rest of season. He is going to carry you to a championship. I hope you got him.
Yeah, with Bucky, it's just been really awesome. I'm gonna give you a partial season for Bucky. Since week 6 for running backs, if I could get there, give me 1 second. We'll go PPR because I want to get this right. Bucky's been really freaking good, man. Like he's taken a massive step forward in that offense. If I can find him, where is he? I don't know where he is. We'll get there. All right, I'll find this in a second as I got to talk. I go through these stats. But yeah, he's still at 5.5 yards a carry on the season. He's okay. So here it is. So since week 6, he's the RB6 in points per game at PPR perspective. That shows you how good Bucky's been. He's kind of taken that role, and it really hasn't gotten any better. Now I will say that week 15 matchup against the Chargers is a tough matchup. That you're probably gonna knock them down to rankings, but you're still gonna play him. That's the thing, right? They get Vegas next week. Fire him up. Mike Evans is back and healthy. Mike Evans was a monster once again. Touchdown, did his thing. So yeah, it's Bucky. It's Mike Evans. As they just went from Chris Godwin, they just inserted Bucky into Chris Godwin role. Like that's what it is. It's Bucky and Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield was still not great in this game. Like the 2 turnovers, it should have been a really good game from him. So we'll see with Baker. Like it's just they got Vegas. You're going to treat him as a top 12 quarterback moving forward. It's just he's our quarterback 6. Like ain't too worried about it, man. It is what it is. Sometimes positive game scripts. Yeah, the Chargers one. I don't know if he's going to be positive game scripts because the Chargers are a really good team. But outside of that, like it's going to be a lot of positive game scripts for him.
Jesse, if you get the bye, it doesn't matter because you don't have to face the Chargers. And then get Vegas, Dallas, and Carolina. You're crushing. I hope you have Bucky. Listen, go pay up for Bucky now. Maybe there's, maybe you give, I don't know.
It's going to cost so much now.
But it's far too late, but maybe you still get him.
You had to give Waddle plus to get him, right? So like that's where we're at.
Waddle,
we're past that now. Like you got to go up even higher.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, like that was looking very well for you. Like you're gonna have to give it to a top 24 skill position player to get him is where you're at, and like well within like round 1 first round pick, like plus in dynasty, like that's where you're at. So you could pay it if you want to. It's starting to get really, really pricey as far as dynasty perspective. He's elevated in like top 12-ish running back range, so like he's there, man, and he should be there to stay. Like I don't think they're gonna replace him next year. Like so he should be up there. No. Every efficiency metric you want to look at, Bucky's like top 10 in the NFL. He's awesome. Yeah, look at his price on like DraftKings. That's what I'm saying. Like he is expensive across the board everywhere. Everyone's caught on to Bucky. Like this is
doesn't matter.
Being an idiot.
How can I point? Pay that price. Pay that price. Doesn't matter. Pay.
Yeah. Like I should have just held on to my priors going into the combine when I had RB1.
So
it hurts. I will live that down. And Kyron Williams, same thing, back to back. We've seen a couple of guys really just say, like, guess what? We're good running backs. This is the whole thing with running backs. Like they could get there. They don't have to be freak athletes. Obviously, we like it, but you clearly don't need it if they get the volume and they're just really good. This is what it is. Yep. Hard learning lesson for your boy here. Well, we'll live and learn. Such is life, right?
Live and learn.
All right, let's go to the next game. Philadelphia looks like a top team in the NFL. Like they just really gave it to Baltimore. Baltimore struggled in this game. The score makes it look a lot closer than it was. It was not this close in this game. Baltimore they got their hands put on. There's a tackle that Cooper DeJean made where he absolutely rocked Derrick
So
Henry,
good.
because
So good.
I mean, it's not fair for Henry because he was catching the ball, slowly getting ready in position. The Jayden was already on him. It's really not fair, but it is a hell of a clip. It looks
Who
great.
cares?
You're like, oh yeah, he gives a fuck, right?
Who cares?
Yeah, Barkley did his thing, another touchdown, 900-yard performance. Jalen Hurts was solid. He may be a little bit under expectation. It's not a touchdown, 18 fantasy points. AJ Brown was good. Still gave you double digit. Dallas Goedert. Those guys, like, it wasn't all there, but you know what? You know what you're getting out of those guys. Are you at all concerned with Jalen Hurts? Because Saquon, they're kind of capping each other a little bit. From a dynasty perspective, are you at all worried, or are you just like, the situation ain't going to get changed in the next few years? Like, are we just riding with Jalen Hurts?
I think you ride with them. I'm not so worried about it. Only 19 attempts in this game, but Devonta Smith wasn't playing. I mean, he might be the best team number two wide receiver. I'd put him top 4 team number 2 wide receiver in the league. I mean, he's phenomenal. I don't know if they can be a 1 because of his size, because of the position he plays, but he's so good. And he can earn targets amidst all of these other guys like Goddard and AJ Brown. So the fact that he's off the field, he's not able to stretch the field. Jahan Dotson he's okay. You just roll with Saquon. Yeah, they cap each other, but Jalen Hurts also scores 3 rushing touchdowns some weeks. So look, it is what it is. You roll with Jalen Hurts, and this team is awesome. Too bad the defense is good.
That's the thing. Like, you can't get these massive, like these Burrow-esque game scripts, right? Where they have to just chuck it. I mean, he still got 12 rushing touchdowns on the year. Like, they're both going to be top 5 at the position, Hurts and Barkley. So you might not be getting RB1 or quarterback 1, even though Barkley is RB1 right now. Like, it might push down a little bit just based on how these two go. But yeah, they're just awesome, man. It's the duo. It's like, it's not quite Superman and Robin, but it's like Superman and Superman playing on the same team together. It's just awesome to see. So for the Ravens, this sucks with Derrick Henry because you kind of get these game scripts where it works out against him. He was fine. Like, he gave you 14 fantasy points. Yeah. It's okay. Not really there. He gave you over 100 total yards, didn't get the touchdown. What are we doing with Mark Andrews? Because, like, he just keeps producing. Like, it's just like he has 3 of the last 4 games have been 15 plus fantasy points for him. The targets were there. I mean, do you think he's RB? He's tight end 11 on the season. Do you think he's going to finish the season as tight end 1? Like, do you think he can hold that?
No. Oh, as a tight end 1? Yes.
Yeah, as a top 12 tight end, yeah.
He does have a bye week, but he's got the dreaded, somehow, New York Giants to contend with here this week. The New York Giants are, if you haven't been paying attention, the best defense against opposing tight ends. It's probably rookie Tyler, I think it is Nubin, in the secondary. It's got a lot to do with how those linebackers and how they flow coverage. And so Mark Andrews, I think, will be okay. But yeah, bye week, then the Giants, then Pittsburgh, and finally he'll come back with Houston. So I don't know, he could have a couple of down games here and the bye, and then he doesn't do anything for you. But you probably don't have a lot better options than Mark Andrews on your bench right now, especially with Taysom out.
Right, that's the thing. Like, the tight end, like, there's high end guys. Mark Andrews falls with that second tier of guys where it could have. He's got 10.3 fantasy points per game. He needs to stay there. Like, that's what he needs to finish the season. That's what if he gets double digits the next couple games, he'll be fine. But the Giants thing is the whole fly in the ointment. Like, it could ruin it. We'll see. Like, if I'm them, I'm just gonna be like, hey, make someone else beat me. Because Zay was like fine. Zay did his thing in this game. He was really good. Like, he's got 10, but it's just this game they just struggled offensively. So. You know, bad matchup sometimes that happens against really good teams. I would not too worry about Andrews will be there. Yeah. Well, let's do our last game and we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yes.
So Buffalo put them hands on the 49ers. Sorry, 49ers. Wave the white flag. Playoffs not happening. You guys, they lose CMC. Like, this season is a season of horrors for the 49ers. Yeah. They were incredibly healthy last year. This year it's been the exact opposite. My goodness, dude. It's just been so bad. Let's talk about it. James Cook is the RB8 on the season on points per game basis. Do you think he can hold that, or do you think he's going to go above it or below it? Where do you think James Cook finishes the rest of the year?
I am continually surprised by how good James Cook is. I mean, he's got a nice role, but he has to live on efficiencies. Just 15 touches in this game. But he ran 14 for 107, 7.6 yards a clip in the snow, and a touchdown. He caught a ball for 13 yards as well, RB8 on the week, half PPR. So, yeah, he's just a monster. And this is against San Francisco. He did it again against Kansas City 2 weeks ago, or before the bye. He did it again in week 10 against Indy. So his last 3 games, He's been RB9, RB9, and RB8. He gets the Rams. He gets Detroit, which, look, Kenneth Walker had Detroit, in terms of going off against them. I don't know if James Cook can do that, but you can get on Detroit in the passing game with running backs if you have to. And that's where James Cook lives. New England and the Jets. Yeah, I think he's absolutely an RB1. Can he finish as the RB8? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I think he can get you there. Like, he only saw 45% of snaps last, so excuse me, 46. But like, he gets there on efficiency. His career yards per carry is like 5.7, 4.7, and 4.6. That's what he's always been. He's been this really good back, and that's like just a really good system with Josh Allen. The efficiency is there. It might cap him from being ever top 5 running back, but you know what you have. You have a really good high end RB2, low end RB1 each and every week. It's just it's the good times of that offense, man. That is what it is. All right, let's talk about it. CMC out for the year. Where are you going to rank Jordan Mason for the rest of the season? Because he's going to be the guy stepping in that role. We've seen it already for like a month plus with him. It's been up or down depending on game script. It can be really good. It can be really bad. Where are you at with Jordan Mason? And are you going to drop all the fab to get him if he's potentially available?
I think probably he's the guy you want. However, Jordan Mason is not utilized in the passing game. I do not remember what was going on early in the season, whether there was more Debo bubbles. I know Garendo wasn't being integrated much, and nothing like what we saw last night. But my issue is Chicago week 14, the Rams week 15, Miami week 16 has been a really good defense, and Detroit week 17 in the fantasy championship. Do you really want to fire up Jordan Mason against that Detroit front in the fantasy championship? And I do not, especially he's not catching passes. So I think Garendo is interesting. If I would kind of take the shot on him because of how bad the schedule is. Mason will get there on volume. Mason will probably score a touchdown. But this team is out, like you said, they're out of the playoffs. Do they have much to play for? Maybe Mason's playing for his contract, so he does okay. But can he be an RB1 in any of these games? Maybe 1, maybe 2. It's hard. The schedule's hard. This team sucks. Garendo might be more involved and should be more involved.
Yeah, it gets the fullback juice, Kyle Juice. He's the guy that leads the running back room in targets outside of CMC. So he's the guy that gets a lot of the targets. They like him. It really devolves into this kind of just multiple guys getting a lot of touches. I think, in the game script, it can be right, but Trent Williams dealing with an injury, like he's missing time. The offensive line is in shambles right now. I don't know how many positive game scripts they're going to have. So Jordan Mason's in that like maybe middling RB2 back at RB2 range. And maybe he gets touchdown, gets right. It's just, I would pick him up just because you don't know how this is all going to shake out, but and there's really no one else available. So there's also that, right? But yeah, I'm kind of with you. It just sucks he's the best running back they have, but I don't know how well it's going to go. Just kind of is what it is. But man.
Sad.
It's unfortunate. It's tough break for the 49ers. We'll see y'all in 2025. Rebuild, retool. I don't know. This might be the end of their window. It sucked for Kittle too. Like I think Jennings was their most consistent guy. Kittle dropped a touchdown. I should have had it, but like if you're looking for any wide receiver, I think it's clearly Jennings. Debo is just like, I don't know, man. He had a ton of return yards, but in real life, it just happened. So, all right. I think that's going to wrap it up for our week 13. Believe it or not, folks. It's just a solid 90 minutes. No big deal. We run through it. We do the damn thing. So, we will be doing waiver wires tomorrow. I don't know how many guys are going to be available. I'm looking. It's not great. So, it's going to be a Bear waiver wire show. I have to write the article, and I'm not looking forward to it. I'll just tell you that much. I'm just like, there's these guys. You can pick up this guy. But,
2 more weeks. 2 more weeks.
Yeah, we'll get there, folks. We're going to get there. We'll make it happen. But, that'll cut it. So, thank y'all for joining us. I know this is late in the show, but if you have not already, please sub to the channel. We appreciate it. It makes life so much better for us, and we will throw it back to you guys. So, with that said, for Jeremy, for myself, all hail King Bucky, Aaron, SC, all those guys. Take care, folks. We are gonna, hopefully you get what you need for the, the Monday Night Football.
Good luck, sir.
Hopefully you get it. David Njoku, we need you. Make it happen. Win us those weeks. And then, good luck in the playoffs, and we'll talk about playoffs moving forward after this week. So take care, folks. We will see you tomorrow.
Listen up closely, let the games begin. Top pick sleepers every week I spin. The FF universe here to help you win. The fantasy football universe.